Hello, everyone, and welcome to the episode 89 of the Office Hours podcast. I'm happy to welcome back Mo, and without further ado, let's get started. Hi, Mo.
Hey Vasili, how's it going?
Good, good, good. How are you?
I'm doing good. What's new and exciting?
Uh, you know, Renault continues. The end is in sight. We can see the light at the end of the tunnel, so that's good. Uh, so, kind of happy to get that over with. You can't really see it on camera, but like this entire room is like completely filled with random stuff that we can't put anywhere else for the time being. So I kind of can't wait for it to be over.
Do they work like all day, or like it's just a few hours every day?
No, they work pretty much from morning till late, on weekends too, sometimes if it's not too loud, because we're not supposed to make noise on the weekend. But yeah, it's a lot of work, and you know it's kind of like managing a software project. Everything gets delayed and everything gets shifted. You know, people make
Yeah.
assumptions. Like we made assumptions that a store would carry the kind of tile that we wanted because it said on their website that is in stock. But for us, we thought in stock means we come into the store, we pick it up, and we bring it home. And to them, in stock means, oh, it's in our warehouse in Alberta and it'll take you like a week and a half to get shipped to Vancouver.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
on a day we were supposed to go to the store and pick it up, they're like, oh, yeah, it's going to be 2 weeks. We're like, what, 2 weeks? Our workers are ready to start tiling. What are you talking about, 2 weeks?
yeah, I mean,
So,
these are logistics issues. Like I feel like
yeah.
this kind of things kind of happen. These are things that you never really plan for. Like you
Yeah,
said, in
yeah.
a software development project, like sometimes like there are things you don't really see coming, or like things you think will take like 1 day ends up taking like 2 weeks or something like this.
Yeah, exactly.
But this is going well.
Yeah, well, I mean, uh, I've seen worse issues of overruns on such construction projects. So this I can live with that. Like a couple of weeks
Do
past the time is it should be okay. We can manage.
what would you what are you looking forward to the most about like its finishing? The noise or actually like the design?
Well, the noise is manageable, but it's just the dust and all the construction crap. Like all of our carpets are all covered up in like tarps and cardboard and stuff, and there's just dust everywhere. Like every time, everything is just covered in a fine powder from all the drywall and all the other stuff that they've been doing. I can't properly use my garage because it's just like full of various equipment that they need to like cut tile and do all these other things. So I have to park my car on the street. It's just, you know, it's not the end of the world. It's just kind of like it gets conflicts with your life a little bit. But then once it's done, it should be really good too. So, I think it's quite an expensive construction project. I'm not gonna lie, but at the same time, if we're gonna be living here for like another decade, why not?
Yeah. And I mean, it's also good. Yeah, it's also good because you get to enjoy it. It's if it's expensive, I mean, it's for you. It's an
Yeah, yeah.
investment at the end of the day. So anyway, I'm happy for you, Vasily.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
I hope um you enjoy it and you enjoy the final product at the end of the day.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we got like a humongous bathtub, like super tall. So I'm definitely gonna enjoy that.
Why? You like? I
I
mean,
like I like baths. Yeah, I
oh,
like baths. So
ooh, okay,
that
okay.
part, especially in the winter. Summer, maybe not so much, but in the winter, definitely.
Why
Just
not in the summer?
it's too hot in the summer because like it's nice to enjoy in a tub, like the warm
Mm.
water, just relax after a long day. But in the summer, it's so hot all day. Like it doesn't really be like, oh, that's a good idea. It's like, no, I'll take a quick cold shower and that's good enough, and then I'm out of
Yeah,
there.
yeah. Yeah. Oh well.
Hmm.
Oh well. Today I have some scenarios that I wanted to ask you,
Ooh,
talk to you about.
interesting. Okay.
Well, you tell me. So picture a team, yeah, decided whether to rely on like open source library. I'm gonna read it. Just give me some time to read it out to you. So picture a team decided whether to rely on a popular open source library that has a big community but no guaranteed support, or to go with a proprietary paid solution that comes with a support contract and known vendor. Some team members are arguing that open source gives them more flexibility and lower cost. Yeah. While others worry about the risk of relying on the community driven update or lack of formal support. And you have to make the decision, final decision. What would be your decision in this case?
Well, yeah, that's a cool question. That's pretty interesting. I guess you have to figure out the stakes. It's like what is this library for? Is it um how critical it is to your infrastructure, I would say, you know, and like are you working at a company that mostly uses open source projects or it mostly uses paid support, right? Um
You know,
I
sorry. The reason why I'm laughing is because I know that you're a big open source fan. Like you like
right, right.
open source. So I was kind of curious where you would like put yourself here, like because this is a big project, right?
Mhm.
And like there is security, there is cost. So the things to consider: risk, cost, long-term maintenance.
Right,
Where would you
right.
be?
Well, I mean, yeah, you have to consider all of those things. It's not just like a coin toss where it's like, oh yeah, we just go with open source, or oh yeah, we just go with the commercial one, right? It depends on a great many things. So I can't clearly say that one or the other should be a winner. Um, I've had instances where we had like a paid libraries. And I think people think like, oh, if you have a paid contract that like entitles you to support and that entitles you to like prompt changes if you need them, but that's not always the case either. Like, yeah, you have paid support and you're gonna get like a private forum or a private ticket system where you can like submit your support claims and that they will reply to you, but that doesn't always mean that your problem can get resolved. And if the library is not supporting something that you're looking for, you can say, oh, please implement it for us. And they're like, okay, yeah, we can have it done in 2 years. And you're like, okay, well, that doesn't really help me now, right? So having commercial support for a library may or may not be as fancy as you'd expect, right? And in the case of open source library, so you're saying like they don't provide support. I think a lot of libraries of that nature kind of start toying around with the licensing model where it's like, yeah, the library is open source, but you can buy support if you want it. And uh, the other thing with open source libraries is like, usually they're fairly open to sponsorships, so it's not exactly like buying technical support, but you can have some more weight behind your problems if you start sponsoring it. Although, like, having a big organization sponsor an open source library is almost a non-starter because you know uh, they kind of don't have the vocabulary for that type of relationship. It's like, how can you make a purchase order for sponsorship? Like the whatever the accounting team would be like, well, what do you mean? Like, we need an established contract before we start paying these people money. Like, what are you talking about? So it's kind of neither here nor there. So yeah, I don't think that there's like a definitive answer to that. There's just too many
So,
things that you have to consider.
okay. So let me put it this way, yeah. The way I say it, first, I don't know if I'm gonna I'm in the team, right? I'm gonna support open source for any like major enterprise application like this because I guess what is the definition of the open source first? Like, is it the kind of open source that actually has like, you know, for example, you could argue that is some is React open source?
I mean, it is open source. You can definitely read the sources to it, but actually, I don't know what the licensing agreement is. I mean, you can probably like since it's running pretty much everyone's applications and nobody's really paying licensing fees for it. I guess it allows you because like there are some projects like for instance, for web, there's a lot of proprietary libraries for grids like rendering like Excel like tables and fancy grids and whatnot. And usually because they are very necessary in like enterprise projects, but they're not very necessary in hobbyist projects. A lot of these libraries, they're like kind of open. Some of them can be open source, but the licensing terms would be that you can use it for free in your personal project, but if you're using it in a commercial project, you have to buy a commercial license. So they're like dual
Mhm,
licensed for both open source and like commercial usage.
mhm.
And when it comes to open source in general, there's like bajillion licenses, all with their own terms in terms of what's allowed and what's not allowed. They may like you can have like a GNU type license, which basically infects your entire project. And as soon as you bundle anything with the library that's using that license, like you have to open source everything that you do. And a lot of companies would never agree to that. And then there's more permissive licenses like MIT or something like that, where, so it really, really depends. Um, and yeah, a lot of these are going to be dual licensed for commercial use. So you would not even be able to kind of, or if it's open source, you can maybe read the source code to help you with integrating it, but you may not necessarily be able to modify it and bundle it as part of your product because the license terms prohibit it. So it's quite complicated, and I think that's why bigger companies choose not to deal with that because like it's like a massive field covered in landmines because like any kind of thing can happen. And the other thing I wanted to talk about is that a lot of companies, they use open source libraries, but they never really like contribute back to any of them in any kind of significant way.
Do they have to?
And a lot, it's not that they have to, but like they can certainly afford to. And since it's driving parts of their critical infrastructure, like the whole idea of open source is like very basically, it's a communist utopia, everybody like
Mhm.
from each according to their ability, to each according to their need, right? So, like if you're using it and you're powering all of your critical infrastructure with it, like, it would be nice if you were to contribute something back financially or whatever through support efforts, giving some developer hours to the project or something like that. But a lot of companies choose not to because they are not obligated to. It's purely voluntary. And I think people going into open source do realize that. But you remember a couple of years ago there was this wave of open source projects being relicensed, like like Redis has been relicensed because Amazon basically like deploys Redis on their AWS cloud and then charges other people money for it and never contributes anything back to the Redis core base. And those guys are like, well, screw you. Like you're just commercializing stuff that we wrote and not like we're not seeing a single red cent of that money, which again, they're not required to. It just seems kind of like a dick move. So they start relicensing and be like, okay, you're not allowed to do that anymore. Like you can't. Most of these SaaS type, open source SaaS type products, they have some clauses that's like, oh, you cannot, like, if they offer SaaS that they host themselves, the license would say, like, you're not allowed to offer competing SaaS products using their source code. Like, you can't just take, I don't know, Citadel IAM user management and key management system and start selling it just as is, just maybe rebrand it and start selling it because they have their own like hosted offering or something like that, which makes sense.
I think maybe for like everyone that is like listening to this, I think we should probably like analyze like what exactly is the kind of open source products that you can use in an enterprise project. So for example, like I think there are different grades of open source. There are some like we were just saying, like React is kind of open source, and this is a different kind of grade. And then there are some, for example, I remember like a few years ago, I think we had this open source video. Do you remember that tool? We had this like it was supposed to be something like Google Meet.
Mm.
Do you remember the name?
Well, there's a bunch.
Yeah, there was one we tried. I don't remember the name.
Uh, I have it. I have the app on my phone still. I can potentially try to look it up.
Yeah,
I
I
think it was
mean,
Jitsi Meet.
yeah, something like that. That's
Yeah, yeah,
open
yeah.
source too,
That
you
is
know.
open
But
source. Yeah, yeah.
this is a different grade of open source. I don't know if they are actually like that maintained right now. Are they still maintained?
No, they're still very much maintained. I think that it's just it's a fairly it's not like a library that you integrate with your thing. It's like a video conferencing software with specific deployment requirements. And I tried throwing it up like quick and dirty and it didn't quite work, so I never really spent time doing it properly.
'Cause
Uh Although I might have to revisit that whole thing again.
anyway, I was gonna say like, because I think it depends. Because like the issue with open source is usually like long-term maintenance. Like you never know what if like the repo stops getting maintained. Like, do they even get like a lot of people who are maintaining it right now? Because like if you start to integrate it into your software that you intend to commercialize and somehow there is like issues with it, like you are kind of stuck with it. Or now you have to like do some heavy change in your application that will require like an open heart surgery, some
Well,
sort.
that's not necessarily true. I mean, if you picked it for the features that it provides that currently satisfies all of your needs, that doesn't go anywhere. That's always going to be there,
You think so?
right?
Because I think like even if like you have a
Well, I
feature.
mean, if software A provides feature B at 2025, in
Mhm,
2027 and 2035, the
mhm.
feature is still going to be there. Like, it's not going to go away.
Could be there. But the issue
What do you
is
mean
like I
could be
know
there? You have the
okay,
copy of the source code. It's just there.
Vasili, wait, let me get my point out. So there is something like I know about software aging, you know? So sometimes like you could have like an application that actually runs right now, but in the next 5, 10 years, it stops working because they no longer have the like the environment or like compatibility with like your current state of your application. So it worked
Well,
yesterday.
in that case, you can use Windows. They still provide compatibility for the stuff written 30 years ago and it still runs.
So you see the issue here. So this is what I'm trying to say about like
Well, again, like, yes, that's certainly true. However, these days, it's probably a little bit easier to deal with. Like I've had some cases where that was definitely the case, but that entire thing was tied to a very specific hardware constraints. I think that was done by design because it was like a way of preventing like counterfeiting or whatever. So you had to buy like the PC that the system was running on, you had to buy it from the vendor. I attempted building one myself, but it just wasn't working. Like the
so
system would start, but it like the hardware would not run. So that didn't work. But I think these days you can run stuff virtualized, you can simulate older machines, you can still run it in like an older version of the OS inside a container. So it's less of a concern, I would say, these days.
is this all of this? All of this for one feature from the open source software.
But you're saying like, oh, maybe 30 years down the line,
I'm
like,
not even saying 30 years. This could happen. So, for example, I know like in like especially in Microsoft ecosystem, In the Microsoft ecosystem, you have .NET, like the .NET development
Yeah.
ecosystem. I know that sometimes they have upgrade features, like upgrades that may not actually be compatible backwards. For
What are
example,
you talking about? Microsoft is like notorious for being backward. That's what I'm saying. Like you can install Windows 11 and potentially run software that was written for like Windows 95 and it would still launch.
yeah,
In fact, like I remember
this is
downloading like the original Minesweeper for Windows 3.11 and running it on my Windows 10 machine, and it launches and it actually runs. So
it could, but then you could have like a Windows application that was actually built with like let's say WCF or like that was built with Entity Framework 4, for example. So this application was actually built in like 2015. I'm pretty sure you probably struggle to find an environment to run this right now.
what do you
No?
you can install the libraries, they will
But that's
certainly
what I'm
run.
saying. Like, why do you have to do? So I'm in this team. This will be my argument. Like, I'm thinking this will take like a lot of extra effort. You need to get like a specific environment, specific system to actually keep this thing running. It's open source because you want to cut costs and use open source. But now you have to pay
But
money.
you just mentioned Entity Framework, and that's from Microsoft, and like you're
Yeah, but
supposed to license it.
yeah, but entity framework. So for example, in I think in Entity Framework 4, you have the WCF, but in like the whole in the .NET Core, the one that actually runs on like different environments now, like
Right. But you can still go and download .NET, not Core. You can download the pre-core and it'll still run.
that's what I'm saying. Do you see the issue here? The issue
No, I
here
don't
is
see
that
the issue here because you have to literally do it for everything. Like, what do you mean? You just expect something to run 100 years down the line and just
this
not
is
have
the
any
issue
problems
here.
with it?
This is the issue here. Like, I don't want to have to be the one responsible for maintaining, like, having to, like, patch it. It's like the way I see it is like, how do you say that? It's like you have a car, you don't want it to to you like this car, so you want to continue to use it for the next 50 years. But now, like, the car literally cannot run with the tire. So now you buy like specific tires for this new tires for old car, and just so it keeps working, or something like this, new engines for an old car or something, like just to keep it working. So for me, I'm voting for like uh, a commercial a license, like an application that we pay for it, and then we can be sure that it is actually going to be maintained. I get your argument when you say like, oh, because it is a license does not mean that you always get the support that you want, but at least like you have people to hold responsible if you need something.
Well, that's still not a guarantee. I think a car is a fair example because, some older models of cars, the parts aren't getting made. And like, it becomes like, it's really cheap to maintain when the car is mass produced because parts are readily available, but then 30 years down the line, if it's not a popular model, you can't find parts, or you have to find like old stock parts, they're more expensive. Fair enough. But a car, it's like, you can use any car to get from point A to point B, but you can't like just swap your entire software stack halfway through. It's not exactly the same, but I think that is just basically that's how it is. Like, if you want to like, okay, what is your requirement? Because you can have the system that works and you essentially freeze it in time. You can compile it statically, so as long as you're running on the same CPU architecture, you will always run. Like, if it doesn't require any specific kernel level features that change all the time in Linux, if you're relying entirely on user space, it'll work for as long as it has to work. But you're kind of conflating, like, you have to like add new things to it and you have to constantly migrate it to newer versions of operating. Like, why would you constantly migrate it to the newer versions of operating systems?
Because you want, first of all, you need your libraries to be up to date every time.
Why?
Like this.
Why do you need your libraries to be up to date? If they solve your problem today, why do you need to update your libraries?
First of all, this is a security problem. For
No,
security,
it's not a security. Security can be dealt at a different level,
No, I think, and OWASP will back me up on this. like OWASP, OWASP, Open Web Application Security.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm aware.
So like OWASP will tell you that you need your libraries to be up to date to avoid vulnerability. So like if you have like libraries that you cannot update because certain reasons, I think this puts your application in a precarious position. Like now, you don't know if it's like vulnerable or not. You are not completely sure of how secured you are with your integration. You don't think so?
I mean, that's fair. However, like again, there's
I
just
think
too
it's like the
many. There's too many variables. Like, do you have to put this application bare ass onto the internet? Probably not. You can probably put it like behind a firewall, behind some other. You can mitigate it in other ways. And again, for commercial software, like they have bugs all the same, and it's like they are likely to fix it. But at the same time, how many cases were there where it's like a big vendor is told, oh, you have a vulnerability, and like, yeah, it'll be fine, and then it goes unfixed for like years and years and years. Meanwhile, the open source project gets patched up like 3 days later. Like,
okay.
it's just like there is no definitive,
Wait.
oh,
Wait.
it's commercial license, therefore X, or oh, it's open source, therefore Y. It's like all over the place. Like, you
Let's
have no
let,
guarantees with
let,
either of them.
let's put a context to this. Let's put a context to this. Yeah. You're building a social application where you could integrate a video conferencing feature that has a video conferencing feature. You have I don't know if you can integrate Google Meet I think Zoom kind of opens their software, but for, let's say you have to choose in an hypothetical scenario. I'm not sure, but in an hypothetical scenario for your social app, now you get to choose between integrating Google. I know you don't like Google, but let's say you have to choose between integrating Google and the open source one, Jitsu, you said?
Jitsi?
Jitsi. Which one would you go for?
Well, considering how notorious Google is for like killing off 95% of the stuff they build, I'll never go with Google. No, like it's non-starter.
Okay.
It's like I integrated, and then 6 months down the line, they're like, "Oh, we decided to sunset it. Please migrate to something else." In fact, the project I was working on at work last couple of months was migrating off of Google Firebase URL shortener, because they, like last year, they just sent a message saying, "Oh, by the way, we're discontinuing this service August." Like they're discontinuing it like next Monday. Like all of URL shortening done through Firebase API is dead, completely dead.
Okay, Vasili, let's change it. No, you're not using Google. You're using Zoom. Zoom. Which one
It
would
doesn't
you choose?
matter. It doesn't matter.
So you're going for Jitsi. Is that what you're saying?
Well, okay, me personally, I know that if I have the source code for it, it will work in its current state for as long as I can maintain it myself, right? Like, I know that because, it's running on my server.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't have to add anything to it, it's just going to stay that way forever. As long as we can keep the servers up, it will stay and it will work, right? If I rely on any other third-party vendor, again, like, I would not necessarily entrust things to cloud providers because there's no guarantee that they're going to be alive 10, 20 years down the line either, right? Like, you can't say that like there is no that guarantee. Like, even if you're buying a software license from a like reputable firm, there's no guarantee of its longevity. And ultimately, the one thing that I could certainly control is that, like, if it runs on my server, that's like right there's a rack, there's a server in it, the software runs on it. As long as I put my own efforts to maintain it, it's going to be there. Whatever happens to the cloud provider, who the hell knows? I was running my mail server on a VPS like 15 years ago. And one day the company says, "Oh, this is obsolete technology for us. We don't like to support it anymore. So you have to migrate it yourself to someplace else." And I was like, dude, like I manually compiled the mail stack on it like 5 years ago. I have no idea how to do it now. And I just need to like scrap the whole thing and start completely from scratch in this other thing. And I was a paying customer, and I was paying them like $50 a month because it was the early days of VPS. It was really expensive to do
Okay.
back then. And one day they're like, nope, sorry, you can't have that anymore. Screw you. Like, dude, go redo it again. You know what I'm saying, right? Like,
I,
no
honestly,
guarantees, no guarantees at
no.
all.
You know what? I get it. I get the fact that there is no guarantees in terms of like stability. But for me, I'm coming from the risk and maintenance point
Yeah.
of view.
But I think this conversation is mostly pointless because most projects don't really live longer than like 5 years on average anyway. So who
No,
cares?
I care. I learned a lot about like security stuff nowadays, and I know like if you are building an enterprise application, security should be something that comes to your mind first. Like I feel like this is the first thing you need to think about. You don't think so?
True.
So if you're thinking security, like where would you better find a better security?
But I think so again, we can't definitively say that a commercial library is going to have better security than an open source one. I don't think
Mm,
that you can just make that case.
I can actually. I feel like I can. Like
Like
I feel
read
like
any CVEs. Like reputable companies have gaping holes like
do you see that?
that are super exploitable.
If reputable companies are still struggling with security, reputable companies who have consistent maintenance, paid maintenance, are still struggling with vulnerabilities. Now let's talk about open source who doesn't have like consistent maintenance. Like that's what I was saying. Like there are different
You
grades of
know
open source.
what reputable companies have?
What?
They have project managers. And project managers need to deploy new features because if there are no new features, then project manager has nothing to do. So they have to come up with, they and product, they have to get in cahoots and come up with all these new features to show to their stakeholder
Mm-hmm.
meetings with like pretty screenshots and everything. And security patches and stuff like that are not features. There's something that does not change the product in any way except making it more secure, which is a very abstract term. So they focus on features and they deliver features, features, features. And whenever there are people say, hey, we need to refactor this piece because there's potential security issues, they're like, it'll be fine. Look at this fancy, shiny new feature that we deploy. I think for most open source project, they're potentially not, I don't know, I'm speculating here, but I think that that's
Of course.
lesser
Of
case,
course.
and people can just geek out, and if there's like somebody who's all about security, they can just spend their time doing security without regard of any type of product person who says, oh, we need to change the color on this by 3 degrees in the hue wheel because I think it'll look better, and that's higher priority. So again, you can't really make that statement saying like, oh, because it's a commercial company that's consistently putting efforts into writing
Mhm.
their software, they're gonna have better security because their priorities could lie entirely elsewhere. So
Okay,
I have my doubts about
I'm
that.
gonna put you on the stand here, yeah? And
I
um
I don't speak for the entire open source community. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna put you on the stand here, yeah, and ask you a very, I mean, yeah, let's say, you know what? Let me not put you in too much of a situation. Let's just say across all the teams you've worked on, like which you've worked with, yeah? Would you say all the enterprise applications that you have actually built, like worked on, would you say they have security vulnerabilities? And if you know this, are you comfortable with knowing this? Like, oh, they work this company, their software that I'm contributing to actually has like a security vulnerability, but it's not my business since the product manager is not saying anything about it. As an engineer,
Well, I don't know. I don't know. That's not a very fair characterization, I would say.
but as an engineer, you know
So okay,
that this.
like okay, I obviously care about security, and we I would have different problems with enterprise software because, as we talked about before, a lot of their security compliance is done on like a checklist basis. And as long as you can tick the box, you're fine technically. You have your ass
Mm-hmm,
covered because the
mm-hmm,
box has been ticked.
mm-hmm,
You know, uh, in my personal approach to software, for the types of vulnerabilities that I can immediately identify, I will not let them propagate, obviously. But again, it's not my primary, not that it's not my primary concern, it is always a concern. It's not my primary focus. Like, I haven't studied like the OWASP back to front and backwards to immediately see all kinds of different types of vulnerabilities. I can have my kind of hunches. Like, I know a lot of stuff that is obvious. It's like, don't do this. It's certainly going to have security implications. And I have to say that framework authors have been doing a much better job these days mitigating all of that stuff kind of out of the box. Right? So
True.
you don't have to be on a lookout for like the most trivial type of shit. So now you kind of have to be on the lookout for more sophisticated stuff. And it's not it stopped being like a one person's job, because the applications that we build, we usually don't deploy. There's a separate team that actually puts them out there, and like all the layering they do on top could mitigate some things and it can introduce other things. Like, I don't have full control of the stack, right? So it's kind of a team effort. And in a big enterprise, it's kind of really easy to say, oh, it's the network guy's fault, or oh, it's the application developer guy's fault, or some combination of both, right? So it kind of gets like very diffuse and kind of ambiguous. But to the point where we do have security audits, like those companies retain firms to do like security analyses on a scheduled basis, and whatever they find, we try to mitigate as soon as possible. So any kind of CVEs, like updating the versions and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's the thing, right? I mean, we talked about it before, because sometimes it's just so stupid. They like literally aggro on some library that never hits production, but it is in your source code because it's part of the build environment. It's not even part of runtime. It's part of build environment. And like, oh, this library is vulnerable to some, what is it, like a denial of service type thing. It's like, yeah, on your local machine, who nobody gives a shit about because it's on your local machine. Like, that never hits production. And they're like, no, you have to mitigate it because it shows up in a list. And we operate that nothing should show up in a list here. So it's very mindless. Like, that's my bigger problem with all of the enterprise kind of security dealings, is about how mindless it becomes. So I don't know. I try my best.
Yeah.
I can't say for a fact like, oh, I know for a fact that there's a massive security vulnerability here and I'm not doing anything about it. I don't think for me personally it would ever get to that stage. I think for other people who may not be as well trained in identifying those things, they simply might not know. And they don't, since they don't know, if they knew, they would have cared, I imagine. But if they don't know, they don't care by the fact of not knowing, not by the fact that they're somehow malicious or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah. So this is where I am, because I've been studying a lot about like the OAuths and like all this like security stuff, and I think this is something that is getting a lot of my attention. This is why I feel like I would rather go for. I mean, but then again, it's a fictional hypothetical scenario, so we don't really have like the. I mean, I didn't really put like a very specific case. It's just in general, I find like if you're starting a project and you think you're cutting costs, because at the end of the day, what you really get from like using open source like this, it's probably like to cut costs. But while you're cutting costs, I imagine like you also want to make sure that you are not putting yourself in a predicament in it, because say for example, and I'm reaching here, right? But say for example, there is like a situation that happened, like a security situation that happened to your application, and there's a data leak or whatever happens. It's not. It doesn't. I mean, it still comes back to you because you chose to use it, but then again, there is someone else who is responsible for this.
But you know, most data leaks happen for way more trivial reasons. It's like, oh, we created a bucket in Firestore and just made it public by default. Like, it doesn't matter if you're using open source or closed source. It's like, no, you done goofed. You did a stupid thing and you exposed all of your data. Like, no amount of commercial support would have prevented you from doing that because you just didn't know what you were doing. Like, I don't know how many cases there are of like, oh, they exploited a really sophisticated exploit chain to get access to this and like do this and that. A lot of this like, oh, this company had their stuff leaked because they misconfigured the access properties on their bucket in S3 or something really simple like that. I don't know. Did you hear that like Workday got hacked recently?
Oh,
They're like HR
I know the app.
platform.
No, I didn't
Yeah,
get that.
like
Oh,
we use it. I don't remember the details, but it's like I actually don't remember exactly what happened there. I just heard that they got hacked recently. I think it was some trivial reason too, something really silly. So it's not like sure complicated stuff can get you, but usually it's the very very benign shit that actually gets you in the end.
yeah, exactly. So like for me, this is where I would be if I'm in this team and I'm actually like giving opinions. Like this is what I would think of as being like, you know what? I know at the end of the day we could still like be in shit
Mm-hmm.
for any reason, but at least like we would know like it's not because of what we did, it's because of what happened. You know, like it's not that oh we didn't do our best to actually mitigate it. For example, I know sometimes if you and maybe this does not really like it's not the same scenario, but like if you run there are a lot of libraries in the npm package manager that if you actually like audit each one of them, you probably like see like I don't know how many companies do this regularly, but if you run like npm audit or something like this to actually see the your package, like
Well,
you can
I can tell
see
you this much. Like the approach with third party package solutions, like if you're writing truly secure software, you
Mhm.
just can't afford to use something like npm because one package can pull in like 500 dependencies.
Mhm.
Like you cannot audit all of them,
Mhm.
and it's vulnerable to supply chain attacks. It's vulnerable to like people infiltrating open source projects and like dropping malicious payloads into things. And as much as they like to mitigate it by like deleting vulnerable versions, it still has enough window of opportunity to do considerable damage. So if you're writing secure software, you're not going to be writing it in a system which allows for external packages like that all willy-nilly, you know?
Yeah.
So the thing is like a lot of the ease of development has made people very kind of relaxed and not like everybody thinks in terms of happy path. So it's like, oh yeah, we just get a package from npm, and then the left pad fiasco happens and like half the internet breaks because some guy decided to be a dick and like unpublish all of his work. Like that wasn't even him trying to be malicious. He just felt like that underappreciated maintainer of an open source project, and he just like nuked all of his repertoire off the internet, and then half the internet went down because left pad is so advanced that we have to build it. Like we can't build it from scratch in a single 3-liner function. We have to download a freaking package for it off the internet. It's a culture thing. It's not even like you can't expect people who operate in this kind of atmosphere to also be conscious of all these other things. It's like it's a very different mindset of building software where you kind of always hope for the best. Like you would build in JavaScript and you use npm, or you build with Python, use pip or whatever, and like if you're hardcore security conscious, I don't know, you build it in C and you roll everything yourself. And then
See.
you don't even have like anything in a third party repository. You like literally vendor everything and
No,
snapshot all of your code.
no, now we're going extreme. I feel
It's
like
not
this is a
extreme. It's reasonable. Like the fact that the fact that you think that it's extreme is already like a bad
no,
sign.
no. no, I feel like you're going extreme now. It's not because I'm
No.
looking for something to do with like, for example, like low dash. It's not because I'm trying to find something to do like some manipulation. Then I have to build it myself. And I feel like even you see, well, maybe because I'm not. Maybe I might not. I might be saying this because I've not really like seen the um. I've seen it like the. I've not really experienced like a security attack like this, like like through your package libraries or something like this. But I guess it's a valid point. But now you were saying like if we're supposed to be like cautious of like npm, so what do you recommend instead, like to build from scratch, like you are about to do, like let's say you want to use like moments, yeah, let's say moments, like a library like moment, for example, you use
Well,
moment.
I would not advise for using Moment in the first place. You should
Why
probably
not?
use Data Fans. Well, Moment doesn't tree shake for shit, so your bundle is going to be massive. It's like, yeah, let's download 5 megabytes worth of time zone information to display since 30 minutes ago on your web page this one time. Like, that's a good investment of your package size budget. Uh, okay, like, you're either in that world and it would be completely unreasonable in the world of web dev in JavaScript or TypeScript or whatever as it is right now. It would be unreasonable for me to say, oh, by the way, you can't use npm, just because it's not, that entire ecosystem does not assume that type of use case, like no one's gonna go for it. So if you're building critical security infrastructure, don't build it in that language. Just like, it just doesn't make sense,
So what do you build it in?
I
C++?
don't know. I don't necessarily know because I'm not in that world. I guess for a lot of server side network stack user space type tools, a lot of people use Go, which also has its own package manager. So again, it's like it's
You can
you would
avoid it.
you would want to identify the core of what you're trying to do and bring as few dependencies as you possibly can, and choose packages that don't require bajillion dependencies of their own, which is really hard. It's a really hard problem, and you have to adequately assess your risk. It's like, what's the worst that can happen? But it's an entirely different conversation. Like, it has nothing to do about picking like open source versus third
Yeah, I
party.
mean, right, yeah, exactly. We just like digressing here, but I'm
Yeah,
curious about this. I want to know because I think every language probably has like definitely would have its own like package manager, and this is because it helps you to build faster. It helps you to save time on like some mm, minute logics. And for example, I mean, you were using moment as an example earlier, but you could avoid using it and actually have your own um,
well, see, like,
algorithms.
again,
But
it's a mindset thing. It's like, why do people pull in low dash? First of all, again, you shouldn't probably use low dash. Well, I guess low dash kind of, they made it a little bit better. But like back in the day, people would pull in underscore, right, which low dash eventually replaced. And it's like, I'm pulling this library that doesn't tree shake, that has like, I don't know, 150 different utility methods. I don't know exactly how many, but there's a lot. And I use it to run sort on this array or something in like this fluent style, because again, back in the days of underscore, fluent was like all the rage. You'd be like, array, instead of saying sort something and then filter something, you say array dot sort dot filter dot 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 dot, that style.
mhm.
And people would pull in this entire massive library for like one or two functions, and it's just like I understand that it's convenient, I understand that it speeds things up, but that is the mindset. You're
You
like,
would
it's not the question of like, oh, what problem am I solving? Let me pull in the library which has 200 functions and one of them happens to solve my problem. And if you look at the function you're using, it's probably trivial in the first place. You could have just written it yourself, right? Things like time manipulation are kind of complicated. Thankfully, there's now apparently new time-based APIs being added into all the major browsers and runtimes, where you probably wouldn't even have to use something like Moment or DataFence because it's just going to be baked in, which is preferable. But I get your point. Like, there's something that, something complicated that you kind of don't want to roll yourself. You would probably want to rely on collective effort of, like, I don't know, 25 people rather than just you trying to figure it out and, like, not account for all the edge cases. Like, I don't know, maybe you're using a library for doing integer math on currency, and there's weird quirky edge cases that you don't really think about, but because there's a library, somebody stepped on that particular rake that smacked them in the face and they fixed it. So you just get, like, the cumulative product of everyone's bruises of dealing with all these weird things, right? And if that library is fully self-contained and doesn't pull in 250 different libraries, fair enough. That's probably okay because you kind of need it. But if you're writing left pad, if you're not writing left pad and you're importing a library for it, you have other problems. So, like, it's,
Yeah, I guess, I think, I see where you, so I think what this means is, like, even when you are importing, like, a library, like, or using, like, a package, you also need to look into it. And I guess this is going to be like it comes with experience, I believe, because, like, I don't know a lot of people who actually, like, try to, like, inspect the libraries that their library is depending on and something like this.
It's like that joke. I don't remember. I think it was about OOP. They said it, but it's like, you just wanted a banana, but instead you have the banana, the monkey, and entire jungle on top of that.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from. But anyway, yeah, this was just like a digress of what we're talking about. But at the same time, it kind of complements it, because, like, my own case here is just like, I get it that it doesn't really, like, out of the box solve all our problems and just, like, give us, like, a very solid fence, but it's the little thing that we can do. There's so many little things that I end up becoming like a good defense. But if you start to skip all those little things, I feel like it kind of creates like a hole somewhere that could be exploitable. And you never know. It could even be an in-house attack. You never know. Like, so maybe one day you never know what you're doing. And like you said, like, it's a good thing that out of the box nowadays, for example, I know Angular very well, and I know, like, there's a lot of security features that comes with Angular out of the box as a framework. I don't know if it's the same with React, but I would imagine so, because, like, React is also, like, a very supported library in a way. So for example, like, when it comes to, like, cross-site scripting and stuff like this most of these things get cleaned up, like, and also, like, a string cleaning, like, to make sure, like, those kind of things get maintained by the library frameworks out of the box. But at the end of the day, and again, it comes down to, like, the grade of the open source software that your library that you're talking about. Like,
right.
if you're talking stuff like React, these are the things that are actually maintained over time, and, like, the security.
Well, there's no guarantee, but I think when you look at something like React, if it had some type of critical vulnerability in it, like, millions and millions and millions of websites use React, and if there was something of that nature in it, how many of them would get compromised? Well, first of all, React is a rendering library, so it would be pretty hard to compromise through the React library alone, right? Usually your APIs are what's targeted for compromise. And banal XXS stuff is, I mean, it's still doable, but it's much more difficult now because browsers mitigate a lot of it. But even then, like, if it has a high deployment base in terms of like number of installs across all the different servers on the internet, vulnerabilities like that would float pretty quickly. If you have some sort of third-party proprietary library that like 1,000 people on the entire planet uses, if that gets zero date somehow, you might not hear about it until it's very, very late. So there's that thing to think about as well, because it's in a sense, it's like security by obscurity. We just have this thing that nobody really uses, that nobody really knows, and if somebody takes interest in it and breaks it,
Fair enough. Fair enough. I mean,
so yeah, there is no clear answer, and a lot of it has to do with culture, and a lot of it has to do with, we're going for speed to market, and that implies just piling up everything to validate the product, validate the market fit, get paid customers, do all these things. Happy path, happy path, happy path. Not many people afford to kind of take a step back and do a proper rebuild, because once you start getting customers start demanding features, and you can't maintain two parallel implementations, like the quick and dirty one and then the clean and proper one, with feature parity all at the same time, all at the same budget. So you end up just building on top of the crutchy thing that you've built originally, and that's where all these problems start coming out. And you just, in terms of security, you just have to mitigate things at the API level, have like pure functional core, and then manage your boundary very carefully, do contracts, do valid. Like it's not hard. It may be tedious, and it may be it may be thought of as an overkill, but it's just gonna save you from so many problems down the line. So this is where I would probably leave it. And commercial versus open source is kind of orthogonal to that. It's more of your personal mindset and development culture that will dictate how likely it is you're going to get hacked by somebody, rather than what type of specific library that you've picked.
Yeah, but I'm gonna just to add to that, like I feel like it's true. There is the constraint, like, and also like the pressure with like managing new features and bringing new things out. But I feel in the development lifecycle, it's the engineers that actually know they are responsible for the security and like the safety of the application itself, because the product guys, they might not be technical enough to know what is good, but like when it comes to maintenance and stuff, so like they don't know, they just want new feature. And maybe in the other teams they might not even have like the but it's true, like you can do like focus more on the API, but then again, even on the API side, like there are also some of these things that you have to need to be careful about, especially when it comes to like the safety of your endpoints. Like you have to make sure like you use the correct type of like token or like authentication, stuff like this, to actually make sure nobody can access your data directly with just having the URL. But then again, like I feel like this comes to us as a responsibility, and if you're in a team where you have to like make decisions about stuff like this, I think we should make decisions that protect the application. Because at the end of the day, if anything happens, everyone is pointing fingers at the engineers, not the product guys now.
Well, yeah, but we talked about it before as well. It's like you can try to front load all of the security work and then miss your market window entirely. And then you're going to have a very secure application that nobody uses, right? Like it's not an engineering problem. It's a commercialization problem. It's like you either make it to the market on time to grab your market share, ignoring all the potential sad path, or you arrive late with a very secure product and never get it off the ground. Like it's not just that considerate. Like I get it. I'd like for the software to be written properly the first time around, with no like loose ends and everything's done right, it's just not the reality.
Yeah, I think I would vote for the later because if you get to the market and now you probably
You and me both, buddy. You and me both.
I would vote for the later because like if you get to the market and you actually don't have what it takes to stay long in the market, you lose reputation, you lose the application itself because now you have to start again.
Yeah, but then
And you
if
still
you
lose the
start again
money.
a bunch, you get to call yourself a serial entrepreneur and become like a
No,
fancy person, get
look
featured
at
on the front page of Hacker News. So it's
nah,
not all
nah.
that bad.
It's all that bad because you lose a lot of money, you lose a lot of time,
Well, you
you
lose
lose
your
money.
investors' money. They should have known better than to invest in that piece of shit.
Well, I feel like this is sarcasm. It has to be sarcasm, Vasili, but yeah, yeah, this is where me I start. For me, I would vote for the later. I would say do do what you can do as like the best practice, the best
Yeah,
that
well,
you can afford.
do as much as you can without overburdening it. Like,
Yeah, maybe.
if you can do a more secure version in the same amount of story points that you can do a sloppy version, obviously do a more secure one. But if it's gonna triple your delivery time, it might just not might fly. So,
Well, I mean, well, we'll see.
it is what it
Yeah,
is.
I guess it is what it is. So
It is
yeah,
what it is.
yeah, it's a nice topic to think about. So yeah, it's a
Yeah,
nice
yeah,
conversation. So
yeah,
thank
for
thank
sure.
you, thank you,
Thank you,
Vasily.
Mo. Thank you. I think we managed to wrap it up just in time. It's kind of starting to get unbearably hot in here, so
Mhm.
I'm going to be signing off and we'll continue this conversation next time. And yeah, if you have any particular thoughts or opinions about picking one versus the other, let us know in the comments and we'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.
Bye.